like nice to
See, I let somebody use my laptop and the studio. I got here today, everything is there, my God.
You're trusting. You're
Ish.
very trusting.
Honestly, like I don't know what to say. All right, man. Welcome back to it, and of course, this is the Edge with Uncle Zach, and of course, I'm not alone. I'm here with Zandi, and the show goes on. This is what happens when you're in a show business, man.
You make things happen.
When everything happens, you just go back to the drawing board and you carry on like nothing happened. And of course, that's how we carry on a Saturday afternoon, the 5th of April. Happy April's month. And of course, a lot of people say this is Freedom Month. A lot of us who were privileged to be born in apartheid have seen the transition and have experienced what it's like to have the democracy we have. And we are in that month where we celebrate a whole month of freedom. And of course, there's so much to celebrate. And of course, Zandi and I were talking that it's our birthday month. And I know so many people who were born in April as well. So we're going to be having a good time this month of April. So we have our guest with us, my brother and friend, Reagan, joins us. And he is a specialist of some sort. He's an artist. He's not just a tattoo artist, but he's a specialist at it. My brother, welcome, and thank you for joining us. You're a man of many talents, and I'm sure you'll explain all these talents as we continue with our conversation. How are you doing, brother?
Hey man, thanks for having me here. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here, Sipo. And I'm really excited about this.
Cool, man. Let's get you into the conversation by saying, tell us who Reagan is. And I know the journey, well, part of it. But who is Reagan for those who don't know?
In a nutshell, I'm a tattoo artist. But prior to being a tattoo artist, I had a 25-year stint in corporate where I was a strategist from Standard Bank and Deloitte. Had my full and moved over to tattooing, right?
Yeah.
What does one do when you leave a strategy position? You become a tattoo artist. So yeah, it was interesting, but I thank God for making me use my skills and my talent to give, because we also teach a lot of youngsters how to tattoo as well. We also aligned with 5 cancer associations. And we're very blessed. We see about 200 clients a month for tattoo terms. It's quite a lot.
That's quite a lot, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. So before you became a tattoo artist, you were a corporate junkie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And before that, you were a singer, an R&B hit maker, a summer award-winning artist.
Yeah.
Let's start with that because it's the weekend. You know, we got to start with the music first.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were a bunch of colored guys. We originated from.
Okay.
Let's shift it.
I don't know if we've changed, but
Yes.
You got me.
To something else.
You got me. Yeah. Touche. I think that's more in reference to our ages. We were young men.
Yeah.
And when we were in high school, you know how it begins with your buddies. You bored after school. We all had music in common. We love music. We came from a charismatic background, like most bands and famous groups nowadays. And one thing led to another. People knew that we had a band, and in high school we got our first record deal. With,
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, God's really blessed me. And it was with Tusk, if memory serves. So we flew up to Johannesburg straight after matriculating. In fact, one of our band members actually had a tutor that traveled with us as well, because he didn't finish school. And this was like 94.
yeah.
And we got to Johannesburg. I remember landing in Hillbrow, and that was my first time in Johannesburg. You know?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, what have I gotten myself into? Remember 94 Hillbrow.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my Lord. And I was already planning my flight back to Durban. I was like, there's no way I could stay in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
But we recorded, we met amazing people, amazing artists. You know, back in the day, Mango Groove, Boom Shaka, you name it, Creason. We were up there, Lucky Dube. We were very blessed to rub shoulders with the creme de la creme in the music world. Jabu Kanele. We were very blessed. And I realized then that the music world is fantastic, it's great. But it wasn't really for me. It's not for everyone. You really have to have you have to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
Late nights, in the clubs, in the concerts, and some of the guys have us going on stage at 2 a.m.
Yeah, you're the last show.
Right. Well, we were the only show. I think a lot of the guys were waiting for more people to rock up at the events. So they kept on, dingy hotel rooms, and then we won our Sama Award. We sang at the Miss World, which was eye-opening because as young colored guys, we never envisaged that we would be on the world stage, the Miss World of all things. And remember that soapy Bold and the Beautiful?
Yeah.
They had the actors there, so we were standing next to the Bold and the Beautiful, which was really surreal, right?
Wow.
You could write a book.
A lot of people.
You could really write a book because you've had a lot of experience.
Well, yeah, God has been really good to me, and
Yes.
He really favors me, and
Indeed.
I like to push it out to the youngsters. You need to go for your dreams. Be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that was my secret. I tried to be very true to who I was. I didn't try remake myself. I tried not to chase money.
Yeah.
Dr. Dani Maritz, the doctor friend of mine, says, it's like trying to catch a butterfly. If you sit still, that butterfly will rest on your shoulder.
Exactly.
If you go try and chasing it, it's going to get away from you.
Yeah. You're going to be on a constant chase.
A chase, that carrot
Yeah.
keeps moving.
That's
And that's why, at my age of 50, you kind of look back at where you come from, and you see these youngsters in South Africa trying to make it in the world, and they get very taken aback by the stardom on TV and YouTube and social media. They think, life is easy, and you hate to be that person to say, there's no substitute for hard work, dedication.
Absolutely.
But I had a very strong art background, so that took me from the music industry. I put myself through some night classes where I found myself in corporate, and I worked my way up from the head of online design for Standard Bank Group, moved over to Deloitte, was heading up a 20-man team, strong team. And I found myself in situations where there was these massive tenders worth billions of rands, and I'm at the end of the boardroom table, and I'm heading up the team that's putting the tenders together from a creative perspective.
Yeah.
And it really, I look back and I could see myself, from like an aerial view, and I thought, wow, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How did I get with the top thinkers in our country? These guys are like doctors in their professors, and they look at the bottom of the boardroom table and they're like, dude, Reagan, can you explain to us, is this feasible?
Yeah.
Is this achievable for us to get this tender? Can your team pull this off with regards to putting the IP together?
Interesting.
And that stint lasted, I'll call it a stint because it wasn't a very positive experience. It was positive because it showed me how to run a business and how processes and systems really work. It lasted about 3.5 years.
Okay.
And, I remember saying to my ex-wife then, I'm done with corporate. I was really burnt out, leaving at 3 a.m, coming back at 5 a.m. to make sure this tender goes out. And I knew I loved art. I had art in my life. If it's music, if it's painting, if it's sculpting, if it's molding, I just loved art. But I knew I didn't want to go back to corporate. Fast forward 13 years later, I'm the owner of one of South Africa's largest or fastest growing tattoo parlors, where we see 200 clients a month. Yes, I said I didn't want any staff members. Now I have like about 15 to 18 people relying on Ross Inc. to supply them some sort of living.
And where is the business?
That's in Hyde Park. It's the address is 339 Jan Smuts, Hyde Park. We've been at this premises for about 6 years.
Okay.
And it's easy to find us. It's in a little strip mall. It's clear. We opposite Standard Bank Call Center, I believe, and just outside Hyde Park Shopping Center.
In Johannesburg.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, how long has it been now since starting a business, and what was the challenges of starting out a tattoo business, and how did the family take it? Because I mean, you're moving from a corporate job to like
Right.
drawing people with
Right.
ink.
Right.
It must have been just a
Right.
shock to so many of them.
Right. And it was. I mean, I remember getting phone calls from my peers from Deloitte and Standard Bank saying, dude, from working with a billion rand tenders and manning a 20-man strong team to being a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Buying a Harley Davidson, riding around, and like, what's up with that?
Was it a midlife crisis type of issue?
I think so.
Yeah.
I really think. I think people say it as a derogatory term, a midlife
Yeah.
crisis, but for me, it's just part of being a man and growing in your skin, learning about yourself. I'm opening up new chapters in my life.
That can actually work.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the advices I give to youngsters or people like entering into corporate, something I had to learn the hard way. I always say, people you think are your friends turn out not to be your friends. And people you think aren't your friends turn out to be your friends. That director nagging you to stay and work later, he might have his eye on you to be the next senior manager in his department. You find that in the tattoo world, a lot of the stuff that I've learned now, or I'm doing in my business to elevate my business, I got it from corporate. I always had a good work ethic. I think that was instilled in me by my mom and dad. I remember my dad going off to work at 4 a.m, coming back at 8, just working very, very hard. And I always tell my team now, there's no substitute for hard work and dedication. And just having pride, just having pride in what you do. Anything you touch, you must do it to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
And success will follow.
Absolutely.
I think more pertinent to your question is you asked me, like, what were my challenges in business? And there were many, because I had no idea, right, about tattooing. It was a new chapter in my life. And it took me about 6 years to realize, I was I was part of the sheep. I was just doing what everyone else was doing. I didn't have what we call in marketing, like your unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
What is different about you? And that's when I started focusing and bringing what I learned in corporate into my day-to-day life. Yes, I said, I thought it was behind me, but in actual event, my corporate experience really made Ross Inc. what it is today.
It created that foundation that you required.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's difficult is that we assume the maturity of your team. You're constantly assuming a lot. And you have to get less arrogant and humble yourself and get off your mountain and really, get down to layman terms and explain to the guys, these are the accountabilities, these are our targets, and these are our objectives. So we have management meetings, we have focus groups within our team, and it's only made Ross Inc. better and better and better. And I'm at a stage now where I'm actually very, very excited about Ross Inc. We were talking to the production house about a reality show, and I invested a lot of money in a wonderful, beautiful photo shoot. And it shows, when we go and we make appearances, people see us, they see our photo shoot, they see our appearance, we look more put together, and people respond to that. Other professional guys respond to that. And so I'm actually very grateful. As much as I said to my ex-wife back then, I don't want anything to do with corporate, but I find myself talking
You're
about
still
corporate.
in corporate.
I'm still in corporate.
It's really a corporate business because it has to have all of those processes and the procedures,
Right.
and you need to have everything streamlined so that whomever that is brought on board as an employee or somebody that's going to be one of the artists, obviously they're still an employee, they need to understand exactly how the business works.
Right.
So it's still run as a corporate business.
Right.
And what do you think would actually discourage you in having to tattoo a person? So my question really is, do you look in terms of blood? Because that is something that I might just be thinking about, maybe other people are as well. So obviously because it is something that's got to do with needles it involves healthcare in
Right.
a sense.
Right.
So what happens then? Is there any sort of criteria or any requirements
Right.
just before you do the tattoo or really just consider one?
Right.
What are the measurements that you as a tattoo artist needs to be looking out for so that it's both safe for you to do as well as the individual that is actually doing the tattoo?
Well, that's a very, very good question. And, there's lots of certificates you can get, one of which stands out is your blood pathogens that you can get. Understanding the dangers.
Yeah.
Hygiene is paramount.
Yes.
That comes up way up in the beginning. When I talk to my apprentices or people who are interested in entering the tattoo world, it's hygiene.
Right.
I make an example of saying to people, the youngsters there, I can straighten a crooked line. I did cover-ups on our Olympic coaches. My tattoos ran against Usain Bolt. And the problem is that if you don't focus on the hygiene side, you're exposing not only yourself, but your client to dangers. Many.
Yeah.
There's like over 12 diseases you can get from using infected needles or the environment, more than 12. I'm actually doing a talk about that. And one of the things that we do speak about is also bedside manners, because there's a stigma attached to the tattoo world where you're supposed to be this rough, tough guy, and vice versa, and same for girls as well.
Yes.
And I'm not a big fan of that. For me, it's about making the person feel very, very comfortable. Tattooers nowadays are very conscious of it, and they do go the extra mile, making their clients feel very comfortable. So their bedside manner is very important. So the health is paramount. We stay in Africa. With that being said, a lot of the clients that come to us have a high amounts of the darker skin tones, melamine. And what happens is that you need to be able to tattoo someone with dark skin tone as well as light skin tone.
Yeah.
Not everyone that's going to be on your tattoo bed is going to be the ideal candidate.
Right.
And within that conversation, you have to handle the discussion of skin tone, legibility, longevity. Luckily enough, I have a lot of people who are very, very smart. They come to me, they get it immediately.
Yeah.
They normally want very, very tiny tattoos, and they show us tattoos that are on Caucasian people that they got from Pinterest or Google, and have to manage that conversation very carefully.
Yeah.
Because you can't just translate that onto a darker skin tone because of the higher melamine. You have to look at it as we need to go bigger, we need to simplify. There's a whole lot of strategies that you can use to make that tattoo look beautiful. And we stay in Africa, so you need to, as a tattoo artist, it's not just the translation from paper to skin.
Right. There's a lot more to that.
There's a lot more to it, sure.
Wow, man. All right, if you just tuned in, this is The Age with Uncle Zach. And of course, thank you very much. I can see so many of you have logged in on our TikTok. I want to acknowledge you all, but there's so many of you. I see Tony Costa, The Beast, Utman Solomon. Okay, the list is so many. Thank you very much for joining us. This is The Edge with Uncle Zach and the team. And of course, Sizandi is holding it down with me. And we're broadcasting all the way from Hotel Sky in Sandton. And this is where we bring you the show. You can also go onto our website, www.urbanedge.co.za, to be able to log in and listen to the show. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll definitely continue our conversation with my brother over here. This is Ross. He's joining us to talk to us about his business and his journey. Let's take a break. With Uncle Zach and the team, and of course we've got our guest right here who is a tattoo specialist, and he joins us to give us perspective about the world of tattooing. And Zandi, tattoos have always been associated with negativity. When we were growing up, we're told that, when you have tattoos, you must come from jail, or you must be a biker, or you must be,
something. It always was just associated with something that was not right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is, as much as that has been said, my grandmother loves tattoos, guys.
What?
I'm telling you that I have a special person in my life, really. That woman, she likes tattoos. Every time we will see anybody with a lot of tattoos, she will actually be so happy and say, if I had the chance to do it.
No
I would
way.
still
Love
do
it.
Wow.
So interesting, I'm telling you. So what I'm going to do is just to really, really write this down and make sure that everybody knows. I'm going to have her do a voice note for us so that she
Okay.
can really just tell you how much she really likes tattoos. Because you know, sometimes when you say something about an elderly, people will think you're just trying to make that up. But I'm gonna have her on voice note, and then she will really just let you guys know that it is one of the things that she's fascinated about, and she wishes that she actually did it while she was still younger.
Wow.
I promise you.
Wow.
Everywhere. So every time we will see somebody with tattoos on both hands,
Wow.
just anywhere on the skin, she would say, I wish I had the chance to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so-
Amazing.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Reagan, we were just saying now, for those who have a negative stigma against tattoos, we've also seen in the last couple of years actually changing. I mean, we saw
Right.
David Beckham getting tattoos all over his body,
Yeah.
and so many sports artists or sportsmen started joining in and getting tattoos done. So the perception has changed, or has it really changed, or not really?
No, it's absolutely have changed. I mean, I've tattooed board members of the United Nations who stays in Malaysia. I won't mention their names.
Hey.
Okay.
I've tattooed the head of Lenovo Computers. I've tattooed the Olympic coach guys. I've tattooed Barry Hilton's family. It's different levels of different facets within our economy and
Wow.
social standards.
That is so cool.
And it's amazing how
Yeah.
people have really turned around. However, I must say for young kids, I definitely discourage tattoos, especially when it's visible areas such as your face, your neck, and your hands. And I think the best analogy I would use, and I find myself again in this fatherly figure type of scenario where I explain to them that if I'm looking for a babysitter for my child,
Yeah.
and I have two babysitters in front of me. The one babysitter is covered from head to toe with tattoos. They could be dressed the same. The other one got no tattoos. Subconsciously, I would most likely choose the one without tattoos because it'll feel like a safer choice.
Yeah.
Right. Now replace the baby with my business.
Mhm.
If someone's hiring someone and you're a youngster and you're going to be dealing with R1 million a month, 5 million, 10 million. Now who would you choose? Someone
Yeah.
with tattoos or someone without? It could even be a subconscious. And I've spoken to directors and PhD candidates from an HR perspective, and they really said, no, Regan, we don't really look at tattoos in that way. But I think it's more of a subconscious thing now.
It is.
They'll find a reason not to get the person with the tattoo because at the end of the day, they're responsible for the board members and the
Right.
investors, and so they would need to answer like, why did you choose this guy with all these piercings to handle my 10 million rand a month investment, whatever the case may be. And that's the choice that's what I tell the youngsters. I said, you're still young, and you've got your whole life ahead of you. Rather put your tattoos where you can't see it. So yes, there is a stigma, and it has changed dramatically, as I mentioned. But I must put like a line in the sand when it comes to the youth, because they do it due to peer pressure,
Yeah.
but they're not thinking about their careers. They're not thinking about will they get a job. So it's very much a case of it's a personal choice, and yeah, I think the warning more goes out to the parents just to be more conscientious of the employment in South Africa. I mean, South Africa's got one of the highest unemployment rates in the world.
True.
You don't want to add to that difficulty of your son or daughter not getting a job. It's okay to get a tattoo, but just put it somewhere where people can't see it. That's my best advice to the youth regarding tattoos. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, so it's almost 4 o'clock, and of course we're gonna say goodbye to my buddy Ross, and of course Regan is
Oh man.
running such a beautiful tattoo parlor in Hyde Park, and if you want to go, and of course I've been your client a couple of times. You've
Right.
been putting me under a lot of pressure, and I mean I almost cried a couple of times, and I had to be strong. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's really painful to get a tattoo done, and it's not as simple as it looks, hey, buddy?
No, not at all. I also get hurt. It hurts my feelings
Okay.
when I see you talk like that.
Yeah.
But everyone's different. And
Like you said, it's a personal choice.
that's a personal choice. I would definitely encourage the youth again, or people in general, rather use a professional tattoo parlor. And there's so many professional, wonderful tattoo parlors within South Africa, within Johannesburg. We have some of the best talent in the world coming from South Africa.
Impressive.
So just make sure you use professionals. You wouldn't want to. It's your health. People always say it's for life, and that's very true. And it's your skin, and it's the most expensive real estate in the world.
Yeah.
It's your skin. Once it's gone, it's gone. With tattoo removal, that comes with its own complexities and challenges. But once it's gone, it's gone. Always think 20 times about getting a tattoo. Rather come to us.
Yeah.
We'll advise you as to where to get a tattoo.
Yeah.
The pros and cons of because getting a tattoo on your feet and your hands, not a lot of people know that, and a responsible tattoo artist will tell you, and they should tell you, that getting tattoos on your hands and feet is not advisable, because it's what we consider high traffic. You're constantly using your hands, and your feet are constantly in socks. And what happens is that if a tattoo fades, that'll be the first place it actually does fade. Will be your hands and feet.
That's
So
interesting.
anything above the wrist, anything above the ankles, I've got my full support, and obviously the neck down, you have my full support. But when you're dealing with hands and feet, it does become a complex issue. A lot of people come and they show me pictures on the internet. Look, this guy's got a tattoo on his hand, but it most likely was just done.
Yeah.
Fast forward 6 months, let's look at that same tattoo. But it's been a real pleasure meeting both you guys. It's been a real honor being here.
We loved having
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
man. It was so good to chat to you. Where can people find you, follow you, find you on socials?
So on Instagram, it's Ross space Inc space tattoos. You'll find us on Instagram. Our physical address is 339 Jan Smuts, and that's in Craig Hall, just outside Hyde Park Shopping Center. And our email is ross_Reagan@yahoo.com. We are developing a website. Our website was hacked, and it's been a while now since we should have got a new website. But yeah, there is a person. We have a wonderful, wonderful young lady, Naomi, who's waiting to take your call.
Okay.
Okay. And what is the contact number?
082 904
Yes.
3864.
Okay.
All right.
Alright.
My buddy Reagan, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
And we can't wait